You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, Afterbuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. Afterbuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
We're back. It's another week here at AfterBuzz TV for the Amazing Race After Show, Season 25, Episode 2. When you gotta go, you gotta go. I'm your host, James Wallington, and across from me is...
Hey guys, I'm Jessica Carroll.
Hi everybody, I'm Justin Nichols.
And gosh, we are so excited because on our after show for last week, we had about over 9,000 views, which I think is a record for us, if not.
I think it is a record, but James, I don't want to ran your parade. But here's the thing: we are currently we are so close, James. We are at 8,956, 44 more views, and we would reach a new record for Amazing Race.
Okay, so everybody go right now and just view it.
And also, I think that for this week's episode, if we reach 9,000 views. James, what are you gonna do? I'm throwing you under the bus right now.
What am I gonna do?
You have to wear a pink tutu if we get 9,000 views on this week's episode.
But I think we're so close to 9,000 that I want to up it if we get 10,000 views.
Okay.
All right, if we get 10,000 views, you are going to wear something absolutely ridiculous and surprise us on next week's.
I think we all need to.
Deal.
I will gladly wear a tutu.
For 10,000 views, I will wear anything that our fans on YouTube say.
Done.
Yes. If we get 10,000 views, you guys tell us what we need to wear.
But within reason. I wish we had options.
But you know what that means, though, for all of us that watch this AfterBuzz show, you guys need to make sure that you are putting on your Facebook and your Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, and get your friends to start watching as well, so that we can wear the most ridiculous things ever next week as we can reach 10,000 views.
Justin, I think that was a beautiful idea.
I'm excited. 9,000
Me
views last week on YouTube alone, yet alone all the people that are listening in their car right now because of the podcast. So,
all right, challenge accepted.
Yes.
Let's do this. All right, episode 2, when you gotta go, you gotta go. The 10 remaining teams started off in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, and they were traveling to the United Kingdom. Good old London. And first, leaving at 4:21 a.m., we see the dentist leaving, which is actually an hour and 20 minutes ahead of Tim and TJ. I always love to see the beginning of the episode to just kind of see how much time between teams there actually was, you know? Then we have Kim and Allie, the cyclists, at 5:43 a.m. The wrestlers, Brooke and Robbie.
You can do it.
At 5:44. I just wrote wrestlers, so it confused me for a second. Adam and Bethany at 5:52. And then what we see is that those 5 teams are already at the airport ready to get their tickets. And that's when we see Amy and Maya come up being shuttled at 6:30 a.m. Almost 2 hours after the dentist.
Yeah.
This is when we just talked about this a little bit before we went live. What was the confusion with the 4-hour penalty?
Okay, I don't know because they didn't really mention it. They didn't touch on it. So I have no idea where the 4-hour penalty came into place. And to be honest, that was just one thing that I thought they would put the two teams way behind everyone else, but it didn't really change anything.
They didn't even mention it.
Yeah.
Unless I missed it, they didn't even bring up the fact that 2 teams had to wait at some point in St. Thomas for 4 hours.
Right. So I'm confused about that. So if any of you guys know, please comment because I have no idea what happened to that penalty, which could have, maybe made a difference to the outcome of this episode.
Do you know? Oh, go ahead, James.
I was just going to say, I'm under the impression that, 4 hours from your check-in time is then added to when you can leave the next day. Because how everyone leaves almost 12 hours later. I just assumed that it would be 4 hours added on. But like you said, we didn't see anything because we knew Flight 1 was only going to have 6 teams and Flight 2 was only going to have 4 teams.
Right.
Yep. So it's just kind of an irrelevant point, I guess, to bring up.
Yeah, but you know who might know what were you saying earlier? I was shocked to find out and so excited. Apparently, a lot of the racers this season
Yes.
This is true.
are into our AfterBuzz show. As a
is
huge
true.
fan, I got giddy. So what I'm saying is, sometime during either this episode or during the week, I really hope that we can hear from our racers. They've been interacting with us all week long, and so I would love to hear from those that were actually on the race. What happened to this 4-hour penalty?
Right.
What better person to ask than the people who are on the race?
I know we need
Exactly.
like a little exclusive on the 4-hour.
Yeah.
Yes,
what
we
happened
do.
with that? So are you tweeting them right now, James? This
No, I'm actually coming up. I'm trying to read what TJ wrote me because I've been in touch with TJ from the College Sweethearts. I wrote him, and I posted on his wall, "Have you watched the after show for The Amazing Race yet?" And he's like, "Yes, we just watched it." The name came up during post production about where we could watch some recaps, and AfterBuzz was one of them. And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean? Like,
What do you mean one of them? We want to be the
Yeah.
only one.
He goes, "We all keep in touch and we keep telling each other where to find the newest news," and that they loved our after show. So
That is
Yay!
amazing.
I'm
So-
so excited.
I'm
And
glad-
I know Kim also commented on our YouTube channel, on our YouTube video, and she has an awesome YouTube channel herself. So if you want some cool fitness tips and tricks, you can head on over to
Yeah.
her channel.
So basically, for the racers listening right now, if you want some brownie points and you want us to be nice to you, be like Kim and start commenting on our AfterBuzz YouTube channel, and then you're our new favorite.
We understand
basically.
you're on NDA, so if you want to give us an anonymous tip, we just won't tell. We won't say which team told us, but
Right.
you'll be in our good book.
Anyway, so I'm sorry to distract us. I'm saying, but maybe throughout the week we'll hear from someone on the race what happened to the 4-hour penalty.
Yes.
Jess, great question. Back to London.
Okay.
Well, we have the 4 teams that we didn't really see leave the mat. They just were all of a sudden at the airport. We have Keith and Whitney, Shelley and Niecy, Michael and Scott, and Dennis and Isabel on flight number 2.
Yep.
While the group of the first 6 teams were at the airport, we come to find out that Adam and Bethany actually lost her shoe
Yes.
on the leg
Okay,
1.
first of all, I don't know how you can just randomly lose your running shoe. Not just like a flip-flop, a running shoe.
Yeah.
I feel like you would want to stop. I don't care what you're doing in the race, but I feel like a tennis shoe is pretty vital to your
Right.
success in the game. So
And they have
why
this
didn't you stop
Especially-
for your shoe?
Especially because it was obviously her only tennis shoe. So, you know, if I were her, I would have stopped. But Amy...
Our
Amy
sweet
was
scientist.
the sweet
Aw.
scientist was very sweet, and she actually had an extra pair of running shoes, happened to be the exact same size, and so she gave Bethany her shoes. And
Now,
that-
what happens when Amy loses her shoe? Does she takes it back from Bethany?
It depends on if it's the right or the left. Make things a little more
it
complicated.
reminded me of like Cinderella, like, you know, oh, the shoe fits.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
She's lucky. She's a lucky Cinderella.
But that was very nice of Amy, and you know what, Amy and Maya, they didn't get much airtime this episode, but you know, I really like them. Every time they are, you know, on air, they have great attitude. They're super sweet. They're obviously helping out. So even though we don't see much of them, they're still, you know, on the good radar side.
I agree. I think that everything that they've projected towards an audience so far has
Right.
been nothing but positive, and you want to root for them because they are so fun to watch.
And you know, I know we've mentioned this in the past, and sometimes when a team doesn't get much airtime, they're not really going anywhere
Right.
soon.
I was just thinking that. I was just didn't want to jinx it and say it, but I'm glad
Because
you
their
were able
story
to say
wasn't
it, Jess.
developed enough.
Right.
You know?
So that could be
I'm just worried the producers in us are gonna. I'm now thinking like, gosh, if they're not getting much airtime, are they leaving us soon, or are the producers just waiting for that story to develop, and then we're gonna hear a big story from them later on?
Right.
I don't know.
That's
I'm
true.
worried though, because I do like them as well, Jess. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens.
It'll be interesting to see if the whole situation with the shoe that happened, if it comes back at some point in the game.
You think?
Yeah, or if Amy and Maya use it as a way to like have Adam and Bethany assist them in a
Or
challenge.
now they have an express pass or something.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see
Yeah.
what kind of gameplay might come of the shoe.
That's true.
We'll see.
So the teams, when they get to London, have to make their way to their famous Tower Bridge. And that's when they have to find out about their detour, about face versus pancake race. These were fun.
These were fun.
Yeah.
Little detours.
So if you were okay, so let's explain them first, and then we'll say what we would have picked.
Okay. The detour on this leg of the race was a choice between About Face and Pancake Race. In About Face, teams traveled to Somerset House where they dressed up as members of the Queen's Guard and learned the complex steps of the changing of the guard ceremony. Once the parade captain was pleased with their performance, he would hand them their next clue. In Pancake Race, teams traveled to the Victoria Tower Gardens where they participated in a recreation of the annual parliamentary pancake race. Each teammate had to dress up as a chef and then bake a pancake to the head chef's satisfaction. Once done, teams had to complete one lap around the course, constantly flipping their pancakes, finishing within 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Thank you, Phil.
What is wrong with you?
Thank you, Phil. You
For
should
those of you that are watching on YouTube right now, yeah. I mean, do you find that dialogue somewhere already when you copy into your notes, or do you really sit there and you transcribe word for word what Phil's saying?
Oh God, I hate transcribing. I just go to Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
Has it on there?
Please
copy
tell
and
me.
paste.
Oh, don't tell us that. I'm like, I'm so amazed, James. How did you do that?
I'm like, Phil, what are you saying? Okay. Great, got my notes.
You would definitely be hired as like some kind
I
of
was
transcriber,
so
which is the worst job
impressed on how
ever.
you just did
the
that.
worst. But yeah, that's the detour. So now that we know what the two tasks are, Justin and Jess, what would you guys do?
All right, so when I first heard the two, I always try to just base it off what we're, before we see it, I always, and I would have definitely done the About Face, like the changing of the guards, because, I was a dancer, I understand rhythm and steps, and I could pick that up pretty fast. And the pancake thing, I don't have that great of eye-hand coordination, so I would have done the About Face.
What about you, Justin?
You know what? Yeah, I have never cooked a day in my life. I think last season we talked about this. Anything that involves food at all, I run the other direction.
Yeah.
Like, I think I once had a bowl of cereal 2 months ago in my house, and that was the last time I even opened up a cupboard. So even just to think about cooking a pancake, I would have been out right there. Let alone flipping it and running, I'd be screwed. So definitely About Face for me.
I feel like either or I would have enjoyed doing, but I think I would have preferred About Face just because I feel like that's all about rhythm and picking up on the steps. And I just Amy was in the marching band, so I feel like that would give me a little bit of an upper edge knowing how to move my body to the steps of the guard. But let's talk about the guard because he was hysterical.
Okay, no, literally, he was my favorite part of the whole thing. Okay, first of all, the outfits were pretty funny, but he was so funny. He was so bluntly honest with them. He was like, you're horrible. That sucked. Get out of my face.
So harsh.
Oh my God, he was hilarious.
Don't speak. That's what he would say. Don't speak.
It was great because sometimes when you see drill sergeants here in the United States on different television shows, all they do is they yell and scream, but they're not necessarily that witty or funny. They're just loud and in your face. This guy wasn't so loud and in your face. Just the stuff he said was unbelievable.
Right.
I want to hire him for a comedy show here in LA. He would kill.
Yeah, he was great.
He was like, get them out of my sight now.
So there were 6 teams that agreed with us that we would do About Face, and that was the dentists, the college sweethearts, the cyclists, the sweet scientists, the wrestlers, and then our mother-daughter duo, Shelley and Niecy. And Shelley and Niecy are the only team from Flight 2 that made it to the About Face and actually were able to be there at the same time as people from Flight 1. So they gained a lot of ground.
Yeah. And it was Shelley and Niecy, I believe, too, that I think it was them that kind of dropped a big surprise on me, saying that they were in the military.
Yeah.
I did not know that, or I missed that somewhere, and I was like, look at these girls. That could really help them out later on in the race, now that I know they were in the military. I mean, they're used to some of these challenges.
The guard gave them so much crap for...
I know.
I wouldn't even mention that at that point.
I don't know what part of the service you're in, but here we don't march like that.
Yeah.
Tough. This was a tough.
And then Robbie, when Robbie was doing his little marching, I was about to pee my pants because he was Mr. Robot Robbie. He was like, God gave us knees, and so you're actually allowed to bend your knees and not look like a robot.
Yeah.
So Brooke and Robbie, they didn't necessarily have the rhythm or...
No one really got it right away.
No.
I mean, it seemed like something that you'd be like, I was in the marching band, with the scientists, or I've done this, I can do this. It must have been a lot harder than at first it looked because no one did well. Even the dentists, who are perfectionists, struggled.
Right.
Jim definitely struggled a lot with this one.
And even so, at first it was Jim and Misty, and then Adam and Bethany. And Adam and Bethany killed it in the pancake thing. That right off the bat, I was like, whoa, the pancake thing is so easy.
I thought the exact same thing.
I wrote down my notes. I was like, why didn't everyone do the pancake race? This is going to be the easiest challenge ever. They made it look, they were there for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because my first, when I saw how easy they did it, I was like, oh, well, I'll just go that because it didn't seem like there was a set amount of flips they had to do with the pancake.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But then later on, we found with the other team that they weren't flipping enough, and we saw that with Michael and Scott, and that's when I was like, okay, so this might be a lot more challenging than I may see.
But you know what? I give Bethany props. Like, arm or no arm, she's cooking, she's flipping, she's running, and you know, she did bring up a really good point, is that, and I thought of this, like some of the challenges they won't have an option because she might not be able to do it. Like the marching, she probably couldn't have, you know, held the gun and marched and swung her arm.
Yeah.
So maybe that wasn't even an option for her.
Right.
Well, she also said, which I thought was a really good bit in this episode, was that she had to relearn completely how to do things after the accident with the shark and she lost her arm. And so I think that now the arm that she is using, she is so capable of doing it with one arm that you know, I can't flip a pan with two hands. She's now so capable that I think that these challenges where we'd be like, can she do it? She not only can do it, she can, you know, excel at it and kick everyone else's butt.
Right. I'm sure she can do a lot of the challenges. I just think that, like, you know, some of the challenges you might need two arms. Like with the marching one, you know, I don't really know how she would have held the gun, and I don't know, you know.
They would have figured something out.
Yeah, like maybe not necessarily needing the other arm, but just it would be so much more efficient and easier. Because I don't think, if it's like a heavy lifting, like both team members have to do it, it might be a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see, because it seems like so far, 2 legs in, she really just stares it in the face and just goes for it. Guns a-blazing.
Well,
Get it, girl.
they freaking killed this episode.
They really
They
did.
did.
Yeah.
Any other teams in the about face part of the Detour that stuck out to you?
Yeah, you know what? Let's go back to Brooke and Robbie for a second, and because what we talked about last week on AfterBuzz totally played it again here.
Yeah.
Where when they were in the rowboat last week, Brooke and Robbie, and remember I was saying how Brooke has a real issue is when things get tough, she gives up.
Yeah.
And when they were in the rowboat last week, she just said, "We're out, we're done." Then all of a sudden this week, I was hoping that when they didn't finish last week, they'd get some new confidence. As soon as they saw other teams passing them in the About Face challenge, she immediately was like, "We're in last.
Yeah.
That's it. We're the only ones here, babe." Like, and she just totally crumbles, and she really needs to get over this quickly if they're gonna do well in the race.
I completely agree.
I think that, you know, that fear of being in last place and, you know, that kind of negative persona that she gets could, you know, kick her in the butt.
Yeah.
And I hope that she gains that confidence and doesn't necessarily worry about that, but just focus on finishing the task.
Yeah, I mean, Mike and Scott, I know they did a different challenge, but they're a great example of they have not been necessarily killing it at all this season. However, at no point have they been like, well, that's it, we're done. Like, they're the opposite, in the same position that, you know, the wrestlers are at in the race, but yet their attitude's completely different.
Right. And then also Kim and Ali, you know, we didn't really see much of them either this episode, but we did see Ali like cheering when they finally accomplished the task about face. And the sergeant or the captain was like, "Don't whoop in my face, like, be gone, be gone." And then Kim just goes right up and kisses him on the cheek, and I just thought that was hilarious. I love them. I really like them.
Another thing that stuck out to me was Shelly and Niecy. I feel like we not only did we find out about what part of the service that they are in, but we also learned that they're super fans of The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
And they spoke so passionately about it that I couldn't help but fall more in love with them. Because the super fan in me was like, now I want to root for you, because I can only imagine if I was in your shoes, how intense it would really be to be like, I'm finally here living out this dream, that to go home now would be devastating.
Yeah.
Well, we're all super fans. Like, if we were on the race, we want to be on the race.
Yeah.
But if we were on the race, like, we would do anything to stay in that race.
That emotion.
But that's the problem, though, I think, a little bit. And we saw it later on. We'll get to it. I think they have so much emotion in the race compared to other racers because they're super fans that I think it kind of bogs them down a little bit.
Like they're overthinking or
They're
overanalyzing.
overthinking it.
Yeah.
They've won this. Because there are a lot of teams where no one wants to lose, but if they lose, it's like, oh, they've been a fan for a couple of years. These guys, they've been wanting to be on this race for, you know, for 14, 15 years, and it's like, I think that emotion they need to check it, right?
Yeah.
And get it in a little bit, because we'll get to it, but they really struggle with that emotion later on in the race. Now, speaking with some emotion, going on to the pancake race.
Yeah.
Turns out it's not so easy like Adam and Bethany made it look.
Right. Well, this is when we saw the other end of the superfan, Dennis and Isabel, who are now the other Detour. When they started to show the two storylines of like, I'm a super fan of this race and I want to win, that brought me back to last week's preview for this episode, where how we saw the foot race between, or we made it look like it was a race between Dennis and Isabel and Shelley and Niecy. I was like, oh my gosh, one of these two teams are going home, because they're really playing it out. It's like, who's the bigger super fan that wants it more? So Dennis and Isabel definitely got a little overwhelmed, I would say, with the pancake.
Agreed.
But this goes back to what you said last week about our team Nashville, Jess. You said that you think that they could have the potential to be kind of like the dysfunctional couple that bicker a lot.
Yeah.
Keith, to me, does not treat Whitney how he should. And the fact that he said that you were going too slow and like kind of pinning the blame on her, I was thinking, ew. Like, I understand these are high stress situations. Like, we're not going to understand it, but I feel like I would treat someone a little bit better than that.
And like try to
know.
encourage them to go faster instead of like, literally, I wrote it down. He goes, "You've got to run way faster. That was ridiculous."
Yep.
I mean, there's no one's gonna want to be, you turn the negative into a positive and say, "Come on, babe, like you can run faster. Like let's do this together."
I was for sure.
And I just think that if they keep that up, that's really going to bring them
Crash
down.
and burn.
Yeah.
I always go back to our good friends Jason and Amy. I feel like every time you see a couple that bickers like this, I go back to them, and they were so competitive, they were so good, but also when they were slowing down, they were there to be like, you can
Bring
do
each other
this.
up,
I know you're a fast runner. I've seen you run so fast. I know you can do this.
Yeah.
And even they said, I know you can do this better. To give them that push, but you got to do it in the right frame to encourage them, not hold them back even more.
I agree.
And then just really fast, I have to say that Dennis and Isabel mentioned that they had been really training for this race and they were doing CrossFit, and I just couldn't help but laugh when, after running for like a minute, flipping pancakes, they literally like collapsed on the grass and like were out of breath, and I was like, I love you. I mean, CrossFit's
so
hard.
true.
I give you guys props for that, but if you're doing CrossFit, I have a feeling you'll be able to run a minute.
Their CrossFit trainer is just hanging his head in shame right now. Don't mention me again.
Before we move on to the second part of this episode, we just want to remind you guys to rate, comment, and subscribe to our after show, because we're pretty good popular after show here.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Like, I don't want to toot our own horn.
Well, we like to think we are,
but
we'll see.
Yeah, so let's keep our ratings coming in, and if we can get 10,000 views on this one, then who knows what we'll do the following week.
The bar's just gonna keep going higher.
Keep going higher. So don't forget to rate, comment,
Yeah, and I think it's
subscribe.
important for everyone to know that's watching and listening too, is that when you guys do rate, 5 stars, 4 stars, or when you guys do comment, they don't just go into oblivion. Like, our producers here at AfterBuzz really do look at them. We get sent the comments, and so these really are appreciated, and they're not for nothing. We really do put a lot of attention into what you guys think of the show. So thank you so much for watching and listening, and keep giving us your feedback.
Amen. Awesome.
And then Michael and Scott, they really struggled at the pancake thing. I feel this just like popped in my head. I kind of feel bad saying this out loud, but I'm gonna say it anyways. That if they can save lives, then hopefully they'll be able to flip pancakes. They just really had a hard time. I know that you can't cook, so you probably couldn't do it either.
I'd be a disaster.
But I just oh my god. Anyways.
Well, and to give Mike credit, Mike was pretty good.
Yeah.
Sorry to single you out, Scott, but he was the one that was. He couldn't make the pancake, and when he did finally make a pancake, he would run 10 yards and would fall off the damn pan. And I'm like, but once again, that shows you, unlike Heath and Whitney, Mike was there the whole time being like, hey,
supporting.
it's okay.
Yep.
We got this. Perfect example of what to do in that situation.
Yeah.
So our teams were then given a route marker to take the train to the city of Oxford. And this whole little thing in Oxford where they were on the boats, what was it called?
Drop, back, and punt.
Drop, back, and punt. Yes. But there's a specific name, and I forgot to write the name down of the boat. No. wanna say
the
it's called
time, everyone
boats?
at
I think it was the
AfterBuzz.
flat boats.
At 24 minutes in the episode, we have James Wallington stumped.
I'm stumped.
For the first time in AfterBuzz TV
There was like
history,
something that
James
like
doesn't know.
I guess it's irrelevant now.
Breathe.
So.
It's okay. We're human. It happens. It happens.
Anything stand out to you in this whole little boating thing besides people getting carried away by the current, not being able to control their boats?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, once again, Adam and Bethany just no problem whipped it out like, and then this is when I started to just pee my pants, laugh so out loud because so many people were falling in. I mean, Whitney fell in not once but twice, which I thought was hilarious. Like, people were running into bushes and getting knocked over. I'm sure it was hard, but I just thought it was hilarious. And then the whole, when you gotta go, you gotta go. She was like, can I just put my butt in the water and pee?
Oh gosh, that was hysterical.
Also super awkward because you saw in that scene that they did not close this stream down for just the Amazing Race. There were locals on their boats as well. So when she decides to go pee, it's literally as their boat is touching another boat full of dudes that are just like strolling around on the stream. Like, could you not have waited 5 more seconds for those other guys to go down the stream? Like, so awkward.
It was funny when I thought it was weird that she didn't like fully submerge herself. I think I would just naturally just jump in, do my business, and go. But she was just like half off the edge of the boat, and I was just like, why do they keep showing it? Like, I'm just waiting for, like, you know.
The stream.
Yeah.
This was for sure one of my favorite parts of the episode. I had to watch the episode just a little bit ago here in the studio, so I was watching it, and I was by myself, but I couldn't help but laugh out loud.
Yeah.
And at one point, I was laughing so loud, one of the producers here at AfterBuzz poked his head. He's like, is everything okay?
Oh my gosh, so good.
I know I'm screaming so loud. However, I do have in big letters on my notes right here, all muscles. This was one of those challenges where even if you're in the back of the pack, don't give up, because this was a physical challenge more than you would think. And all of a sudden the teams, like the firefighters and like the wrestlers who have really been struggling, they got into this challenge where it just involved a lot of strength, and that's about it. And they totally improved the situation in the race.
I agree.
And that's why the people that, weren't necessarily the most muscular teams, struggled. And I felt bad for Isabel and Dennis, because Isabel was the one not paddling or like punting.
She was waving the flag at the front.
Yeah, but then they switched, and so then she was punting, and I was like,
that's what they're punting.
Punting. Oh, is that the word you were looking for?
I don't know why I kept thinking the word was
punt.
Flogging.
No.
Vlogging. Okay, you little vlogger over there.
Vlogging, not vlogging. Flogging.
Something totally different. Totally different. But no, yeah. And especially because like Tim and TJ also, they have been such strong racers as far as working together and doing the challenges that involve a little, thought and creativity. But you put those guys, now we see in a physical challenge like that, they kind of struggled. So it'll be interesting to see the team that we love so much, Tim and TJ. Will this come to hurt them later on in the race as well? James, what do you think?
Speaking of Tim and TJ, I thought it was hysterical when Tim goes, your job is just to stand there and wave the flag.
And he drops
it in the water.
Sorry,
I was watching the video with one of my friends, and he goes, that's something you would do, Jess. And I was like, if I ever got an Amazing Race, I would freaking hold that flag with such pride. Like,
oh no, mine would be in the water. I would be in the water. My canoe would be upside down. Like, when it comes to that stuff, disaster.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Justin. Back to your question. What was your question?
So my question was, I have been really impressed with Tim and TJ so far.
Yes.
They work well together.
Yeah.
They are creative in how they go about the challenges. I think they're a strong team.
I agree.
However, I was really surprised. This was one of the first real physical challenges that we've seen of the race. And they really went from towards the front of the pack all the way towards the back of the pack due to the physical challenge. Do you think that this is a sign of how things might go for them? Because the race, very physical, not just this episode, we can pretty much guarantee in later episodes.
I don't
worried at
know.
all?
I feel like Tim and TJ continue to surprise me. The fact that they've been above the middle of the pack says a lot about that they're really contenders in this race.
Yeah.
And because they are so encouraging one another, I feel like that's a lot of a success for a team in the race. So like they said, they may be like petite, but they pack a punch.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And I think we'll see a lot more from those two. And I think they'll continue to surprise us.
I hope they
see.
stay in. I really like them.
We will see. This was a tough one for not only them, but a lot of teams. And of course, Denise and Isabel. and then Shelley and Niecy, we talked about them peeing a little bit, but this was just not their leg because, I mean, they struggled as guards, and then a total breakdown moment. And I think I mentioned earlier that the emotion, with all of the pressure because they're such fans, it came crashing here in this challenge. They lost it. At one point, she sits down in the boat, and she just goes, I don't know what to do. She's crying, and Lucky Mom's like, stop crying. The mom kicked in right there and said, whipped her into shape. But you got to keep those emotions a little bit in check on the race, or it's going to really pull you back.
And that goes back to what you said earlier about how there's so much of a super fan that could actually end up hindering.
I think it might. I think it really might.
And also, I mean, how people always turn to their mom to for a shoulder to cry on.
Yes.
Well, because the mom is right there, I think that she feels like she can really bring out that emotion because she's just basically talking to her mom.
Right.
And so I think that even maybe that is bringing out more of the tears and more emotion. But they are super fans. I just hope that they keep it together and don't let their emotions bite them in the butt.
I would like to see more of them.
Yeah.
I would hate to see them go early because the super fans and all of us just really wants them to do well.
Yeah.
Or get the most out of their experience.
Sure. And they're one of those teams too, though, that with their one lines, they have a huge personality on the race, and so I think that with so many characters, you can be lost in the pack. So I love that there's this huge personality team. You need that in the Amazing Race, just as far as entertainment value.
Right.
So for entertainment, we need them to be in the race.
They're great.
Come on, get it together, ladies.
They're great entertainment.
Get it together.
Yes.
So after teams finished punting in Oxford, they were given a route marker to head towards Christ Church College, where racers were each given a bowler hat and an umbrella that they had to carry for the rest of their leg. Their previous clue informed them to tip their bowlers, which revealed the clue Churchill's birthplace, printed on the inside of the hat, leaving them to figure out that Winston Churchill's birthplace was Blenheim Palace in Woodstock. I thought it was interesting how the express pass just kind of creeped up, and it was just so weirdly placed into a leg.
Yeah.
You just open the umbrella, here's the clue to the express pass, now go to the bar and get it.
Well, I kind of liked how they had the option. So they had the option to go. If they really wanted that express pass, they could have. And this is where I think that, first of all, Adam and Bethany were clearly way ahead of the pack. So I thought it was so smart on their part to take the time to go search for the express pass.
For sure.
For some reason, I thought that they would have to actually, it was at a pub, right? How they would actually go to the pub and, search the pub for the clue. I thought it'd be funny if they had to, pour
hammered. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, pour beer, shoot the boot or something. I know that's very English. Pour beer and then drink it out of a boot, or search under tables for the express pass. But they literally just showed up and got the express pass.
There was no hype whatsoever, and I feel like for something so coveted in the race that there should have been a little bit more.
I agree.
At stake.
I mean, honestly, I wanted them to have to do something crazy, like pour beer into a shoe and then drink it, and then they would be given the express pass.
Or bartend behind the bar and raise a certain amount of money in 10 minutes. I don't know, something crazy.
Totally agree. And also, I feel like for just production drama, I feel like if you want that express pass, then you should almost be willing to forfeit getting first place for that leg.
Exactly.
So I know that they were way ahead of the pack, but I want it to be a challenge long enough that
in their heads,
by going to get the express pass, you were saying, I'm going to give up a first place trip. I'm going to give up a huge thing because I want it so badly. I want there to be a real struggle between the racers to get the express pass.
I agree. I think that would have made things a lot more interesting. I feel like Amazing Race just needs to call you up, Justin. You should be a producer for season 26.
Right,
come on.
Great
That's
ideas
a great idea.
The save last.
Yeah.
And even with the express pass. So I think, but then I also think that Jim, call him up.
Call me up.
Jim and Misty were also very smart about it, because when they got their second place,
they already knew.
They thought, they're like, you know what? Adam and Bethany were so far ahead. They obviously went to get the express pass, so they got it. We're just going to go straight to, the pit stop.
They're a smart team.
They are. They're very smart, and you saw their intelligence kicking in. So that was smart on their part.
Because Adam and Bethany were so far ahead of the pack, luckily for them, they were the first team to check in at Churchill's birthplace, and they won a trip to Sweden.
Yes.
as well as the Express Pass. So congratulations, Adam and
They did
Matt.
great, yeah.
And then, of
Really, really
course,
strong.
coming up behind them is Jim and Misty.
Yeah.
Going back to...
Wait, though. I was so annoyed, James, real quickly.
What?
If you get second place on a leg in the Amazing Race, you kicked ass. That means that you beat
I
8
agree.
other people on the race. I was so excited for Misty and Jim. And then when Phil tells Jim that he got second place, the look of total disappointment and frustration. And then the line was like, if you don't get first, you were first to lose. Or something like,
Yep.
you just got second place in the Amazing Race. Like, that's amazing. And they were like,
But it goes back to the first episode and how they said their goal was to be the most dominant team. I mean, for me as a viewer, second place, like you said, that's still dominant.
Yeah.
You're not towards the back of the pack. But I can see someone like him who would want to be that dominant and come in first, like every single leg. I can understand probably the little disappointment that he had.
And I think that they are perfectionists.
Yes.
a little.
Especially with those
Teeth, their tans, which actually their tans got a lot better in this episode.
Yes. Are they losing
I
it?
just-
I
They're
think
losing
that
all
their
of it?
fake tans slowly
Fading.
Yes.
I was just so, I was really happy for them. They once again showed they were a great team. I was like, they're going to let Matt, like they did well, good decisions. And they were like, oh, we didn't get first. It's
love
okay,
them.
Jim and Misty. It's okay.
And I actually, going back to them, when they had to go back and do the punting again because they were standing on the wrong sides of the boat, I was happy that Jim didn't tell, I think, who was it? Who asked him, like, oh, how come you're going back?
I think maybe it was the biker girls.
I think the biker girls asked him. I was actually happy that
Cyclists.
he didn't just openly tell them, like, oh, you guys are also on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Because it's a competition. And, I know he helped out a lot on the first one with the compass.
Yeah.
But this time, it is a competition, so you can't just always give away all the pointers.
Yeah.
Right. I thought Kim and Allie were hilarious at Churchill's little Christchurch when they kept tipping it.
Yeah.
And they would stop. Like, where's the clue? I thought that was a little funny.
And he
little
was like,
bit.
Yeah, they did so well this race. I mean, they did okay last episode, but this race, this challenge this week, I thought they did really, really strong.
Very consistent. They're a very
Yeah.
consistent team.
I was proud of them.
And they got third again, which they did in the first leg. So
Yeah.
I feel like that if they can continue to maintain
Yeah.
their consistency, that they're going to be a strong contender to be in this race.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they're definitely up there for me. Following behind Kim and Allie, which I'm shocked by.
Me too.
Shocked.
Keith and Whitney. I feel like they got maybe a streak of good luck. I don't
Well,
know.
I have no idea. I mean, she fell in twice doing
Yeah.
the thing. They had to go back and do the pancake a few times. They had their little fight. I have no idea, but
It's my
They came
fault.
out of nowhere.
It's my fault. Do you know why?
Why?
Because every week, James, when you ask me for my predictions,
oh yeah.
whoever I say is going to go home, they better be thanking me because the next week they always jump way up. And whoever I think is going to do really well jumps way to the bottom. So it's basically your fault, James, for calling on me.
I'm sorry.
Yep, that's what it was. I thought they were going to go home, so of course they did great. God, why am I even hired here?
Keith and Whitney were a surprise to all of us. And then Tim and TJ, again, they're still above the middle of the pack, so I think they're doing really great with their race as well. Then in 6th, we have Scott and Michael. 7th, Robbie and Brooke. 8th, Amy and Maya. 9th, Shelly and Niecy. We kind of see the stacking, though, of the firefighters, the wrestlers, and the sweet scientists, because they were all on the mat together. But yeah, we see towards the end, once everyone's checked in, Shelly and Niecy, Dennis and Isabel, and the way it was edited, it looked like it was a really close race between the last two teams to get to that mat. I was really pulling for Shelly and Niecy, partially because I predicted Dennis and Isabel were going to go home this week, and I was worried, though, that Shelly and Niecy were going to go home because I feel with the first 2 episodes, they had more airtime than Dennis and Isabel. I felt like as a viewer, I didn't really get a chance to connect with Dennis and Isabel.
Agreed.
Well, and also that goes back to, I don't really think, and I don't mean to sound rude, but I just don't think that they have, much personality or really a lot of story behind them.
Except it was just like their different backgrounds and how their parents don't approve that they're not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but I did look at a little interview from them, and I guess they were 10 minutes behind Shelly and Nikki.
Wow.
Yeah, so it wasn't that close. They had 10 minutes difference.
Power of editing.
Yeah, and I also read that because they did mention so many times how they prepared and prepared and prepared for this race, that they're happy they were on, and they don't feel like they over-prepared, because Isabel said that to be in this race, it's 25% physical, 25% intelligence, and then 50% luck. And it is. I mean, whether you're on, a flight or taxi ride, or there's just so much luck involved in the Amazing Race.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really over-prepare.
Yeah, I think luck would boil down to a lot of reality shows if you want to really expand it.
Of course.
I think a lot of it comes down to luck. And
Yeah.
that's a really good point. I love that kind of perspective we got from them.
Yeah.
You're a big reality star, James. Do you feel like on your reality show that it was a lot of luck?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you can be the most physical or the weakest team, and then the physical people go home and the weakest teams go further. A lot of it is luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point. Thanks for sharing, Jess.
Well done, Jess.
So we
know.
say goodbye to Dennis and Isabel, and it was funny because Jess texted me today, and she's like, "What color team were Dennis and Isabel?" And I was like, "I really don't know, because you never really saw them like in unified uniform type attire." That I had to go online. I found it, and I was like, "I think it's just denim and black."
So this is why we're wearing denim and black.
Well,
Yeah.
no, this is not why we're in denim and black. If you all are watching right now on YouTube and not listening in your car, they are in denim and black. I am in bright red because this.
He didn't get the memo.
This text message communication that you're hearing about right now.
Didn't happen.
This is news to me. No one thought to include your co-host.
We did that
Justin.
on purpose.
Ouch.
Just to point you out.
Ouch. Next week, I'd love to get the memo. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Well, speaking of next week, should we dive into predictions?
Yes.
Let's do it, Jamesy.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
So, here we go.
Oh.
And now, your Afterbuzz TV.
Predictions.
The lights in the studio are going crazy.
You know what? I'll start this week, Justin.
Yes.
Time.
I'll let you take a break.
About time.
All right, so I think it's pretty obvious from the preview for next week that we see Scott and Michael have an unfortunate event happen to them. They get injured, and it looks like an injury that I don't think they're going to be able to come back from.
It looks bad.
It looks like a situation with Dave and Connor. I think
I was just going to say, it
That's what
brought
it
me
reminds me
back
of.
to Dave and Connor.
So I feel as though Scott and Michael will go home next week only because of the injury. I think there's nothing else they can do but give it their best.
Yep.
Maybe they'll get medically removed. Who knows? But I think we're going to say goodbye to Scott and Michael, which will make next week's episode a little bit anticlimactic.
Yeah.
So it'll just, it'll be fun to see what kind of relationships evolve
how it
and
happened.
how it all unfolds and what happened to his ankle.
Yeah.
What about the winner?
Oh, the winner for next week. That is a good question. I want to say... That's tough. I want to say it's Jim and Misty. I would love to see them come back to first, but if I had to pull someone out of left field, I would love to see Tim and TJ come up in first and surprise people.
There you go.
So those are my predictions for next week. Jess?
I agree with you. I just really like Jim and Misty. I want them to come back up in first, although Adam and Bethany are killing it. So I still think it's going to be between them four, Adam and Bethany, but I'm hoping it'll be Misty and Jim. And then for last place, if you're right and Michael and Scott are sent home, or if they, just can't continue, then I think that they'll be the ones going home. If for some weird reason, it happens after, I don't know, I think the next team we're going to say bye to is Keith and Whitney. I just think that their connection together isn't that strong. Even though they got fourth this leg, I just don't see them staying in that much longer.
Yeah.
And I can't say bye to our super fans, so I really hope Shelly and Nikki stay in.
Yeah, no way.
Well, then I will help you out.
They
all
represent
right?
us.
I'm pretty sure that Mike and Scott are for sure going to go home next week. But just to help out our super fan, Shelly and Nisi, I'm going to say I think Shelly and Nisi are going home next week. All right? Because then all of a sudden they're going to be in first place. So I'm saying right now on AfterBuzz TV, Shelly and Nisi, see you later. You're going home. I hope my luck continues and they now go to first. I do think, though, that Beth and Adam, I'm with you, Jess, I think that they are on fire right now. It looks like next week's going to be very physical. There's some sheep herding. People are getting injured, which means I think they're going to do awesome.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised to see them in first at all. And also, with predictions, as far as what we think next week, before we go, also, we had some awesome comments, James.
We did.
Yes, we
really
did.
did. First and foremost, I was so excited. Our girl Kim from The Cyclists gave us a shout out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Love the show. You guys are funny and insightful. Thank you. And hop over to my channel for recaps and workouts and shares. Yeah, she has an awesome YouTube channel as well. So of course, when you're watching Afterbuzz's channel afterwards, hop over to girl Kim. And the fact that she said hi to us, so cool.
Yeah.
I'm
Thanks,
like
Kim.
giddy with excitement. You are a celebrity to us, Kim. Alex H. He was not a fan last week of the Blondes at all. Let me tell you, he's excited that they are out of here. You were sad.
I commented I wanted the Blondes to stay in, but it's okay. It's okay to differ.
What's great about the YouTube comments is that you guys are all over this. Like, if you respond to our YouTube comments, like, you will hear from Jessica or James in like 3.2 seconds.
Who's all over this? We forgot to give a really important shout out last week to one of our favorites, Heidi Bolero.
Oh, Heidi.
Good old Heidi Bolero started tweeting us yesterday, and I loved it. She actually feels that this cast somewhat bores her, and that she only watches us three because we're fun to watch, but she'll forever watch Amazing Race, but she thinks this cast sucks.
Our new instant favorite, though, as long as they praise us.
Right.
There you go.
The
Thanks,
three
Heidi,
J's
for the
will
sweet
never let
words.
you down.
I'm not giving up yet on this cast, though, Heidi. I'm not. I think that there are some strong racers, some big personalities. I think we're okay. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm actually more into it, I think, than I was at this point last season with the All-Stars.
I was too.
Right.
I'm back in this one more, I feel like.
Yeah.
Soul Brother 69, we've heard from him before, and he gave us a whole comment. Thanks for your kind comments, and of course talking about the moves you liked. Let's see here. Oh, also, a huge shout out to a first-time commenter, a long-time listener, Sam. Sam Lane said, I've been watching these recaps for years, and I've never commented. I don't know why. I want to comment more this season, so look out. Girl, we are looking out, all right?
Yeah.
So thank you for your first comment ever. We were glad to hear from you. Lots of great stuff.
Yeah.
I love our fans. I think we have a really good following, and they keep it exciting for us because we want to hear what their super fan opinions are on the current season.
Yeah.
And keep looking for those views on YouTube because know that if you start seeing it reach 9,000, 9,500, I'm gonna start seeing comments about what you expect James to wear on next week's
Not
episode.
just me.
Did you like how I tried to divert that? I said just James
Not just
wear
me.
next week.
It'll be all
actually,
of us.
if we get to 10,000, I will force all three of us to wear something crazy.
That means you have to
Outrageous.
actually
We will
include
go
me in your
thrift.
text messages, so I don't know.
We
if I'll
will
get
go
the
thrift
memo.
shopping.
Yes.
And you pick outrageous. We should pick out clothes for each other to wear.
Oh, it's getting worse. This is getting worse. Worse, James. End the show. End the show.
So I have an idea.
Okay.
We kind of talked about this last week after we wrapped up our after show and went out for drinks. Do you guys wanna do like a little fantasy Amazing Race team where we build our teams? 'Cause there's 9 teams left,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
means we each pick 3 teams that we follow for the rest of the race.
Okay.
And depending on how they place, we get points. And at the end of the season, whoever has the most points wins.
Oh,
It's like
yeah, let's
fantasy
do it.
football, but fantasy racing.
Totally into this. My
like the
father will be
idea?
so ashamed, but I've never played a fantasy
I
sport
haven't
my
either.
entire life. So
I
as
don't-
long as you organize it, or our fans that
We'll
are listening
figure
and
it out.
watching can like help us do this and organize this, I'm in. But as far as getting this set up, it seems really complicated. I'm in.
Fantasy. Well,
Just tell me what
I'm
to
thinking,
do.
if you get first, if your team gets first, you get 10. If they come in second, 9 points.
Deal.
And
All
that
right.
way you
I
just
like
keep
it. I like
accumulating
it. And we'll
points.
keep a board of how we're doing.
Yes, or
Okay.
we use like a speed bump or some word twist that's an additional 5-point bonus. Something fun, just to keep
Yeah.
it fresh.
Let's
We're on
do
it.
it,
We're
for
on it
sure.
after buzzers.
So we need to figure out who chooses first. Does anyone have a coin, or maybe we can do some rock, paper, scissors?
All right, here we go. Really quickly, rock, paper, scissors. Between me and you, James. Ready?
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors. Okay, and you win. Go.
Wait, I win?
Yeah.
Why?
I had paper.
That means
I don't
Jess-
know rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, so now.
You
Oh,
and
ready?
me?
Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, shoot.
Shoot.
Okay.
James wins.
I'll go
You have
first.
paper. Paper covers
Okay.
rock.
Okay, that just was really awkward.
For those listening in the car now, they're just hearing this
Rock,
like
paper,
slapping. And I'm like, it's the weirdest car game you've ever heard on your radio before.
Okay, I will go ahead and I'm going to pick Jim and Misty for my fantasy team.
Of course you are. Of course you are. All right, James, get some. Jess, you can go second.
Okay, I'm gonna do Adam and Bethany.
This is not fair. All right, teams, help me out. I'm going to go with. You guys are. We all know it's gonna be one of those 2 teams, so I'm already
You
feeling a
never
little
know.
screwed. Actually, who am I kidding? Kim and Allie are in
Yeah.
this baby. All right, I have these awesome ladies.
I'm torn because I don't want to keep picking people from the top, but I'm going to have to say Tim and TJ because I love them.
Oh, I could have picked all these that you were going to pick, James.
Okay, I'm going to do Brooke and Robbie.
All right.
Really?
Spice it up a little bit.
Kidding.
Jeez.
Let's see here. I am going to go with Maya and Amy.
Dang, that was my next one.
Sorry about your luck.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pick. Oh shoot, I'm gonna pick Shelly and Niecy.
So, who's?
I'm not telling you who's left. I'm not telling you.
Okay, I'll go Michael and Scott.
Oh,
well, that's
okay.
Thanks to the charity. That means I get Keith and Whitney. What?
Awesome. Okay, well, we'll figure out how this game's going to be played, but we have our fantasy teams for this season of The Amazing Race.
For those that want to join me on Team Kim and Allie, Keith and Whitney, and of course Maya and Amy.
Yeah, we should have our fans. Okay, you're either Team Justin, Team Jessica, or Team James. Yes.
Team Jessica all the way.
So pick one of us as your fantasy team. All right.
That's your fantasy. Pick one of us as your fantasy.
Sweet Lord Jesus. All right, Justin, where can our fans find you on social media?
Now that I've scared every one of our fans away, you guys can find me on all social media platforms at Justin J. Nichols, Nichols.
Jess.
And you can find me at DressJessXO on all social media.
And talk about your fashion blog really quick, because I know you've been posting a lot on Facebook.
So
and
I have a fashion lifestyle blog, so if you guys want to know any tips and tricks on feel-good fashion, boost your confidence, and feel good about what you're wearing in your own skin, head on over to DressJessXO.com.
I'd definitely say check it out. I recommend it. And you can find me on Twitter at James Wallington and on Instagram at Mr. James Wally. And we'll be back next week.
Can't wait.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Afterbuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the Afterbuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterbuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of Afterbuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.